Hello class and welcome to chapter 3. We're going to be covering compliance laws and information security policy requirements. Here are a few topics that we will cover. U.S. compliance laws are designed to protect consumers from potential scams, ensure the privacy of personal information, and regulate how organizations handle sensitive data. These laws strike a balance between the need for security and the business imperative to maximize profits and maintain a healthy stock price. Some of the most significant U.S. compliant laws include FISMA, which requires federal agencies to implement a comprehensive information security program. HIPAA mandates the strict protection of personal health information. The GLBA governs the collection, disclosure, and protection of consumers' personal financial information. SOX establishes standards for financial reporting and internal controls. FERPA protects the privacy of student education records. And CIPA requires schools and libraries to filter internet content to protect minors. Each of these laws has specific requirements for the types of security controls that must be included in an organization's policies and procedures. For example, FISMA requires agencies to inventory systems, categorize them by risk, implement security controls, conduct risk assessments, and continuously monitor. HIPAA mandates administrative, physical, and technical safeguards to protect PHI. And GLBA requires a designated security officer, risk assessments, and regular testing of controls. Here's a compliance checklist for U.S. data privacy. In today's world, personal information has become a valuable commodity. Companies collect vast amounts of data on consumers' identities, behaviors, preferences, and transactions. While this data can enable personalized services and targeted marketing, it can also be used to discriminate, manipulate, or exploit. By setting rules around how personal information can be collected, used, and shared, compliance laws give individuals more control over their own data. And by requiring companies to implement strong security controls, they reduce the risk of data breaches and identity theft. Laws are about trust. They establish a social contract between organizations. Companies get the benefit of using this data for legitimate business purposes, but in return they must be responsible stewards of that information. While compliance laws are often framed in terms for protecting consumers, their reach is actually much broader. There are four main beneficiaries of these regulations. Compliance laws give individual rights over their own data, such as the right to access, correct, or delete it. They also set standards for data protection, helping to prevent identity theft, financial fraud, and other harms. Compliance laws also protect the interests of company shareholders. By requiring strong governance and risk management practices, these laws help prevent scandals and breaches that can tank a company's stock price. They also provide transparency into a company's operations, allowing investors to make more informed decisions. The public interest. Many compliance laws are designed to protect not just individuals, but a society as a whole. For example, CIPA helps ensure that children can take advantage of educational benefits of the internet without being exposed to inappropriate content. GLBA helps maintain trust in the financial system by protecting against fraud and abuse. Laws like FISMA help ensure that federal systems and data are protected from foreign adversaries. Regulations around critical infrastructure, such as the power grid and telecommunication networks, help maintain the stability and resilience of our nation. All compliance laws and data governance require proper security controls over the handling of data. This is not just a legal obligation, but an ethical one. When customers trust you with their personal information, they are relying on you to be a responsible steward of that data, to use it appropriately, and to safeguard it from misuse. The same is true for shareholders. When investors put their money into a company, they are betting on that company's ability to operate effectively and responsibly. Data breaches, regulatory fines, and reputational damage can all hurt a company's value. Whenever your organization handles personal information, your security policies and controls must be designed with privacy in mind. This is true whether or not a specific law calls for a specific control. The absence of a regulatory requirement does not excuse anyone of the responsibility to protect data. The specifics of how you will protect data will vary depending on the type of data and the system it resides in, along with the risks it faces. Here's a figure that shows some of the legal and ethical considerations for data privacy. Ensuring that your organization's security policies and controls align with relevant regulations is a complex and ongoing process. It requires a deep understanding of both the regulatory landscape and your own information systems and practices. Here are a few of the key steps. Inventory. The first step is to know what you have. This means inventorying all your information systems, applications, and data stores. You need to understand where sensitive data resides, who has access to it, and how it flows through your organization. Business requirements. You need to understand the business context. What are the critical functions and processes that rely on this information? What are the operational needs and constraints? Security policies. Once your organization has a foundation in place, you can develop a comprehensive security policy. This should be based on industry standards and best practices and tailored to your specific environment. Policies provide the high-level directives that guide compliance efforts. Security framework. To use your policies, you need a security framework. This is a structured approach to implementing controls across your organization. Common frameworks include NIST, ISO, and COBIT. These frameworks help ensure that controls are consistent, comprehensive, and aligned with business goals. Control mapping. A key part of the framework is mapping specific controls to specific regulatory requirements. Monitoring and testing. You must continuously monitor your controls to ensure that they are operating effectively. This includes regular testing, both through internal audits and independent assessments. Any gaps or deficiencies must be promptly addressed. And lastly, evidence. Throughout this whole process, it's essential to gather and maintain evidence of compliance. This includes policies, procedures, control documentation, test results, and remediation efforts. In the event of an audit or incident, this evidence is crucial to demonstrating due diligence. While compliance laws set the baselines for information security, many industries go above and beyond these requirements through self-regulation and the adoption of leading practices. There are a few reasons for this. First, industries often have a better understanding of their unique risks and challenges than general-purpose regulators. They can develop standards that are most closely tailored to their specific needs. Second, self-regulation is often more cost-effective and flexible than government mandates. Industries can adapt their standards more quickly to changing technologies and threats without going through a lengthy legislative or rule-making process. Third, by proactively adopting strong security practices, industries can build trust with consumers and regulators. They can demonstrate that they are responsible stewards of sensitive information, reducing the likelihood of more government intervention. Over time, these industry practices can become the expected norm for any organization operating in that space. Adopting these leading practices, even if not legally required, can provide a strong argument for compliance and due diligence. Some of the most common industry standards include the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, which is a comprehensive framework for protecting cardholder data. It includes requirements for secure networks, strong access controls, regular testing, and more. Any organization that processes, stores, or transmits credit card information must comply with PCI DSS. The Statement on Standards for Esthetician Engagements is a set of auditing standards for assessing an organization's internal controls. An SSAE audit, particularly a Type 2 audit, provides a detailed assessment of the design and operation effectiveness of security controls. It's often required by business partners or regulators as a demonstration of compliance. Lastly, the Information Technology Infrastructure Library is a set of best practices for delivering IT services. While not specifically focused on security, the ITIL includes guidance in key processes like change management, incident response, and continual improvement. Aligning security practices with ITIL can help ensure a comprehensive and consistent approach. Here is a figure that shows some of the logos of the major industry standards. Different regions have different cultural and legal expectations around privacy and security. Navigating this international landscape is a complex challenge for any organization that operates globally. Compliance with one country's laws does not guarantee compliance with another's, and the penalties for non-compliance can be severe, including fines, legal action, and even being prohibited from doing business in a particular market. Some of the most significant international laws and standards include the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, which is one of the most comprehensive and impactful privacy laws in the world. It applies to any organization that collects, processes, or stores the personal data of European residents, regardless of where the organization is based. It also sets strict requirements for data protection, individual rights, breach notification, and much more. It also authorizes fines of up to 4% of a company's global annual revenue for non-compliance. The European Telecommunications Standards Institute is a leading organization for the development of cybersecurity standards in Europe. In 2014, it established a dedicated cybersecurity committee to coordinate and promote the development of security standards across the continent. These standards cover areas like network security, Internet of Things security, and cryptography. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation is a regional forum of 21 Pacific Rim member economies. APEC has developed a set of privacy framework principles for the protection of personal information across the region. These principles covers issues like notice, choice, access, and accountability. While not legally binding, the APEX principles serve as an important benchmark for privacy practices in the Asia Pacific region. Complying with these and other international laws requires an understanding of the specific requirements in each jurisdiction where an organization operates. It also requires a flexible and adaptable compliance program that can accommodate different standards and expectations. Some key strategies for managing global compliance include developing a comprehensive data map that identifies what personal information is collected, where it is stored, and how it flows across borders. Implementing a unified control framework that can be tailored to meet specific regional requirements. Establishing clear policies and procedures for data protection, individual rights, and breach response. Conducting regular assessments and audits to identify and address compliance gaps. And lastly, engaging with local regulators, industry groups, and other stakeholders to stay informed of evolving requirements and expectations. That concludes this chapter, and thanks for listening.